But the bigger problem now we have is, since we are talking about asset allocation, is how many assets are you going to hold? So it really frustrates me that, so let's say 100 people have asked me, or more than 100 people have asked me over the last few months, maybe even years, how much asset allocation should I hold in, how much allocation should I have in gold? Because gold is moving. When something moves up, everybody is excited and wants to be part of the. Now, I have only one question to ask them. Okay, you want to go to invest in gold. How will you manage your portfolio if you must already have equity, you must already have fixed income. You're going to add now gold. How will you manage your asset allocation or your portfolio with 3 assets? I have not got a single, barely even intelligent answer to that question. Nobody knows. Nobody knows. Everybody wants a piece of the shiny object. Gold is now shining, so they want a piece of that. Silver is shining, they want a piece of that. But they don't ask themselves, how will I manage my portfolio if I'm going to add another asset allocation? Let's understand that we keep talking about asset allocation, but for most people out there, they are clueless about asset allocation because they don't want to rebalance. Theoretically, they know what rebalancing is, but if you ask them to practically rebalance it, no, tax. No, I won't invest. That's why I want NPS. Everything will be done by NPS. Everything will be done by this one fund portfolio. They will do anything to avoid portfolio management, which is immature. I have come to the point, I've become so cynical having interacted with investors over the decade and a half or whatever time, that I'm saying, if you don't even know the basics of portfolio management, why should you even bother about retirement? You are very far away from that. So, retirement planning, first of all, it requires some element of simplicity in your thinking. You should say 2 assets are enough for me. If I want 3 assets, then somebody will say international equity. Now there is SIF. I want SIF. Oh, I can invest 10 lakhs. I'm a middle class guy, but I can still invest 10 lakhs. So let me add SIF also. The more you are going to complicate your portfolio, the more it becomes difficult to even say, I have this asset allocation. It's a mess. Most people's portfolios are complete mess. They want theoretical ideas about asset allocation, retirement planning, etc. But if you look at their portfolios, it's a complete mess. So I'm saying, first, don't aim to clutter your portfolio. Don't listen to people who say, oh, you can have 10% of SIFs. You can have 10% of golds, 10% of international equity. There are only 10% in a portfolio. But if you listen to influencers, there are 10% in a portfolio, which is, I don't know how that's possible. So you understand what I'm saying? If you want to talk about the retirement planning, you must have clarity in portfolio management and how simple your portfolio should be. If you don't aim for simplicity in your portfolio construction, you will have a mess with your retirement planning. And people are going to curse you when you die. If you have a cluttered portfolio, people are going to curse you when you die because they want to get money from this instrument, they're going to get money from that instrument. They will curse you. Don't do that. Keep it simple. At least your nominees will be happy. Your hairs will be happy that you're this simple. You have to think like that. I'm saying the problem is there is no such thinking. There's no everybody wants. I want a piece of that which shines today, but they don't know how to manage it. If you don't know how to manage it, stay away from it. You can't. Somebody told me this quotation by Junjunwala. He said, you don't have to go to every party. When there's a New Year or a Diwali, there's going to be tons of parties around. And you're going to be invited to a few of them. You don't need to attend every party. You attend selected 1 or 2, where you are comfortable. The same thing works for portfolio management. You choose something that you're comfortable with. And if you are not going to do that, which most people watching this, I'm sure, would not have, then everything else becomes pointless. I'm sorry, but that's what happens when you age and you talk to investors. You become cynical.
No, you bring up valid points, and some of the questions that I had, you already touched upon that. So great. Now, but then on that gold and international allocation equity part, So the major reason why people invest is because of the diversification and rupee depreciation issue. Now, if you're not going to invest in gold, some of the people are not bothered even if it goes higher. That is okay. If it uh, goes down, I'm going to add more, but I'm going to keep 5-10%. That's the thought process people have. Uh, so even if I don't sell it, that is okay. Uh, International allocation I must have because we don't know what happens to rupee, and then anyway, to mitigate the country risk. I'm not sure if you're educating only two assets, but if you are saying that to make it simple, just keep in equity and debt in India, then how do they counter those issues?
First of all, when people say they want diversification, they don't know what it actually means. Just because I add some percentage of gold in my portfolio is not diversified. That 10% gold is not going to protect me from anything. It's just 10% gold. It's just 10% of something. If the equity markets fall by 50%, it's not going to, that 10% is not going to help me. If the rupee becomes worthless, that 10% is not going to help me.
After listening to this, they are going to say, okay, I'm going to take it to 33% of my portfolio.
Yeah. But then will they pay tax? My point is, nobody, sir, that 10%, 5% will not remain 5%, 10% next year. You will have 5%, 10% today. After 2 years, when it becomes 20% or 25%, do you have the conviction to say, it doesn't matter if I pay tax, I will reduce it back to 10%? Nobody will do it. They will just leave it and call it portfolio management and call it diversification. If you do not know how that 10% of gold or 15% of gold or even 30% of gold is going to change your portfolio, if you do not know how to even quantify that, why are you adding it? I should know what the 10% is going to do to me, right? At least on paper. Forget real investments. There are so many imaginary situations where you can put it on a piece of Excel and do whatever you want, right? People say all sorts of things in Excel, right? From Excel, right? So at least put it in Excel and see what the 10% has done to you. If you're so interested, spend 1 hour, look at the data and see what the 10% does to you, what the 30% does to you. Assuming you do rebalance, at least on Excel, people can rebalance, right? Only then you must have a feel for what you want to do. When people say international diversification, they only mean FANG stocks. They are not talking about Japan. They are not talking about Europe. They are not talking about Saudi Arabia. They are talking about the big tech companies. That is all. And they will say international diversification, whatever. They just want a piece of Microsoft, Apple, etc. That is all. And that is because they're shining today. They have not shined at all time. What people do not appreciate is that those stocks did not shine at all times. There were long periods of downturns where the stocks were underwater. Amazon was underwater for a long time. Would you have purchased it when it was underwater? You should ask yourself that. Ask yourself privately. Everything is down and they've been down for 2-3 years. Will you purchase it then? Most people will not. They want, see, it's a shiny object syndrome. Whatever is shining, they want more of that in their portfolio, which is as immature as it gets. It is the schoolboy attitude, wanting more of this chocolate, that chocolate. It's as immature. I mean, it frustrates me, and I don't want to swear on, you know, on a video here. It's, uh, it really, the problem is that, I mean, unless you keep portfolio management simple, it is going to come back and bite you. You should know what you are doing. I am not saying don't invest in gold. I'm saying, do you know how to manage gold if it is there in your portfolio? Can you answer that question honestly? Most people cannot. At least somebody must say, I would appreciate if somebody says, that's a good question. I don't know how to do it now. But let me add gold and then I will learn how to invest, how to manage the 10%. I will completely appreciate that guy. Nobody said that even to me. That much to me. They don't want to manage anything because it's tax. If you are scared of tax, you're not going to get rich.